It is 3 o'clock where I'm at, or 2 o'clock, but 3 o'clock where Bytemaster's at. So you want to get started with providing the weekly update, Bytemaster?
Another week, another update to the market engine.
Heck yeah.
It has been quite the ride, but I am getting more and more confident that we are converging on a system that's going to be unstoppable. I'm really excited about how it's all working. So, major updates are that I don't remember if this was last week, but all shorts have to cover after 30 days. They can re-short if they want to, but they cannot maintain a short position indefinitely. This will increase liquidity for BitUSD holders looking to sell. They know that within 30 days of a massive increase in the supply of BitUSD, there will be buyers looking to take it back out of circulation if there's not still demand. That should help level things out. The other thing is that instead of using collateral to prioritize short positions, we are going to use interest rate to prioritize short positions while increasing the default backing from 2x to 3x as the compromise approach between the two systems. The primary reason for this is that increasing the level of collateral provides less and less marginal utility. If you go to 1000x collateral, it is only marginally better than 100x collateral, which is only marginally better than 10x collateral. You get your biggest gain when you go from 1 to 2 and 2 to 3, and you get very quickly it turns into diminishing returns on your value on the actual protection, because the probability of volatility exceeding that range approaches 0 very quickly.
So what's the payoff for that? Like, or what are the dangers to that?
Well, we already have been assuming that 2x collateral should be sufficient for all reasonable volatility. The price can go up and down by 50% over time, but short-term volatility, volatility that happens so quickly that the market can't respond in that range, is almost unheard of, even in Bitcoin. So going from 2x to 3x means that the system is already inherently protected against a 66% fall in minutes. And of course, there's going to be lots of speculators that are going to enter the game at that point, expecting it to rise again. So at some point, it becomes more likely that there's a catastrophic, the entire network fails event, rather than a legitimate instantaneous revaluation of BitShares down by that much that quickly. So even major news events like China outlawing BitShares or something ridiculous like that would not have an instantaneous effect on the price. It might drop by 50% like Bitcoin did over 6 months, but it's not likely to do it overnight. And so the system should remain well collateralized, particularly because by requiring shorts to cover after 30 days, they are always re-upping their collateral. So you're not going to end up with a bunch of shorts that are borderline margin call, and then bad news comes out and the network's not in tip-top shape. So that's the primary reason why we moved from using collateral to price things, because doing that, it would have maximized the collateral we use without any real gain for the network. It doesn't increase demand for BitUSD. After a certain amount of safety is provided, increasing safety is less and less of a concern. People want return. So shorts now bid on interest. By competing on interest, they are compensating the longs for the risk associated with the position. And I suspect that an interest on the order of 5 to 10%, which is what I suspect that shorts will be paying. That's just a guess. It could be higher, it could be lower. That kind of interest rate exceeds the probability of default. And by doing that, it greatly, it's a better deal for for the longs than having more collateral. Because the primary risk that the people holding BitUSD face is systematic failure, not
market failure.
Not market failure. So by receiving the interest, it's compensating them for the systematic failure. So overall, I think it's more robust. It creates higher incentive for people to store their wealth inside our system, and it greatly facilitates partnerships with various vendors looking to provide USD liquidity.
Out of curiosity, you were talking about last time the potential of backing it by a basket of bit assets. Is that still on the table, or how would that work?
Well, that's effectively enabling shorting USD again with any other bit asset as collateral. That is still on the table, and that would also use the interest rate mechanism for prioritizing shorts in those different markets. And different markets would have different interest rates. So it'd be very interesting to see how that all plays out.
I have two questions. So the systematic failure, how would that look like, or what do you mean by this?
Systematic failure is the same thing that, say, Bitcoin is exposed to. Someone hacks the protocol and the entire thing becomes worthless.
So in the software, not in the market.
Right. Yeah, so someone figures out a way to hack everyone's private key, and once everyone's private key is revealed, then it's all over. That type of massive system-wide hack is possible for all cryptocurrencies. Extremely difficult, extremely unlikely, because the keys are stored on individual computers all over the world. Far less likely than someone hacking a bank or a bank going bankrupt, in my opinion. But it could also be the result of an unrecoverable software bug. Who knows? I mean, we're talking black swan events that no one can predict. Yeah, those would be the type of events that, it doesn't matter what you do with your wealth. If you put it in your backyard and someone comes in with a bulldozer and puts in or you die and find your gold, or I don't know, there's any kind of number of things that can happen, even with physical gold, that are catastrophic consequences. The entire U.S. banking system could collapse. We could have a solar flare knock out all the power everywhere. Who knows? Those are events that are systematic risks in using digital technology. Your current bank account suffers from a lot of those same risks. So I don't really want to factor those too much.
It seems like it suffers from a few others as well, right? But
right, you have government risks, you have corruption risks, you have who knows what's going on. But there's risks you can plan for, and there's risks you can't. And collateral only helps you against market volatility. It does not help you against systematic risks. And I guess that's just the lesson of the whole thing.
Have you, speaking about the systematic risk, have you guys ever considered some of the stuff as far as adding voting into the wallet for, say, something, for instance, like with the release of a DAC that's coming out, where people can vote on different potential amounts that they would like to see, like, say, distribution in certain ways, vote on different kinds of, like, A, B, C type of distribution. So we can kind of gain, like, almost a little bit better picture of what the community and all the shareholders are wanting from the next DAC that comes out. Because it seems like that.
For example, we are building a voting DAC whose sole purpose is to do those type of things. So you'll be able to use it for voting on parallel elections, voting in real elections, or voting on user polls.
So this will also help people gain information about the happenings on the network, the human element, which is really important.
Yes.
do you guys? I dare not ask you, but I'm going to ask you what Delula's thinking. When will this be done?
What I'm thinking, I can answer that one.
I'm joking, Delula.
But I have another question, if that's okay. So if short positions are competing based on the interests they give to the BitUSD holders, are there then different BitUSDs floating around the market with different interests?
No. BitUSD will pay the holders of BitUSD the average of all the interest paid.
Okay.
You can. Well, real quick though, Bytemaster, there was maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago you were talking about the potential for something like that. Are you saying that there isn't right now, or could you clarify a little bit with relation to that?
We had discussed the possibility of a bid asset that defined a fixed interest rate, and it was pegged to a constantly growing value relative to the dollar, a constantly growing multiple of the dollar at some rate. Yeah, we're not doing that because all price fixing is problematic. So what we're doing is there's a two-dimensional market we have going on here. You've got the price of the dollar versus Bitshares X, and then you've got the price of interest. And how do you match a two-dimensional market? So what we're doing is we're having an auction on how much interest people are willing to pay at the price feed, and that affects when people can short sell. And then we, of course, have the free floating market of long that can do whatever they want. Now, USD can sell at whatever price they want, and BTSX can buy USD at whatever price they like. So now we've got a two-dimensional market. One is set with an auction, which is a price discovery mechanism, and the other is set with a bid-ask. So we've produced a system that is as free market and trust-free as possible, that discovers both how much interest shorts are willing to pay, and then if people start buying BitUSD, how much interest they demand to hold, right? So BitUSD demand will grow based upon the interest the shorts are offering, and until both parties are happy. So I think that's a really solid compromise on the two systems. And it only makes sense that if you view BitUSD as a loan from the network, an IOU from the network, that the people who are borrowing it to sell should pay interest, and the people who are holding it should receive interest, and that the debt shouldn't have an infinite term. You don't ever have to pay it off. No, there should be a term on it, and so a 1-month term on the debt seems reasonable, and it's constantly rotating. So I think we've got a pretty good system there. And then we identified future systems that we could implement that create a secondary market where you can lend BitUSD that's already circulating for interest for fixed terms. So say 6 months, you can lend it for 10% interest, and then someone can borrow the BitUSD, and then using Bitshares X as collateral from someone who's already long. And then after they borrowed it, they can sell it without any restrictions whatsoever on the market. So now you've created a way to allow people to borrow and short without any price restriction. So the only thing people are bidding on auctioning for is increasing the supply of BitUSD, but now you can short BitUSD without increasing the supply of BitUSD. And you would have a complete market. And then when we add the ability to reverse short using BitUSD as collateral to short Bitshares X, now you have a fully symmetric market. And the more symmetric you have and the more free-flowing things are, the more robust the market can be. Throw in options contracts, and you have a complete financial system.
Does that answer your question, Jalula?
Well, that went beyond the question, yeah. Okay, and so what is when when people expect Bitshares X to fall in price, and then there would have to be a mechanism to incentivize people to short Bitshares X, and I guess that is the incentive then is that it's possible to short above the price feed. Is that correct?
Right. The ability to short Bitshares X would, and we could actually set that up so the only way you can short Bitshares X is to borrow it from someone at interest rate, and then you can go and sell it on the internal market. So I think that might be a way of allowing shorting the Bitshares X without increasing the Bitshares X supply. That's an option we have.
So when a margin is called, the BitUSD effectively is destroyed, and the Bitshares X is going to the person that held the BitUSD before the margin was called, and then that person, that could be a merchant or someone that has bought BitUSD for like long term for the interest and so on, and that person then would have Bitshares X, right, instead of BitUSD.
Right. When you cover, you get Bitshares X.
Okay. That's all the questions I have.
This first question is, would it be possible for future DAC snapshots to be taken against not just PTS and AGS, but another DAC such as BTSX, like 40% PTS, 40% AGS, 10% BTSX, and 10% to devs? And that's Cryptillionaire.
Yes, you can snapshot any way you like, as long as you think that it will get you the support of the community and the network effect you demand, and that you feel like it's, recognizing the people who funded the foundation upon which you are building your system.
So,
so the question to Cobb essentially is what gives value to the nodes?
yeah.
Nodes get their value because they're used as collateral for the BitUSD used in the system that pays for the shares, for the ARC shares. They also get their value from the transaction fees used in the system. So Bitshares Music has value for the same reason that Bitshares X has value. It's two different user bases, and it's got two different marketing angles. And Bitshares music is customized toward the music industry, so people wanting to buy that way have an alternative way of buying. So I think that why do they have value? It's just like Bitshares X.
So it's basically the service and the transparency and the the fact that it requires so much less to run the business.
Yeah, that's the overall cryptocurrency or DAC value proposition.
Oh, TonyK's here. That's an interesting occurrence, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. It takes down the last pillar, and now Bitcoin is completely exposed and shaking in its boots, if you ask me.
So, while we're waiting on Kyle, I just wanted to discuss a proposed marketing strategy. Obviously, it's all subject to change, but to give you an idea of what I'm thinking, does that sound good?
Sure.
Have you guys been following the recent posts on BitSharestalk?
Very exciting.
You're talking about the one that was mentioned in the chat here about what's a user worth, right?
Yes. The idea here is that network effect is worth something. The value of a system grows with n squared number of users in the system. And lots of companies have used this to great effect. If you can buy users and get them to sign up and actually use your system, and you can retain a large percentage of them, you can get a huge leg up on the long, slow part of the network effect graph, and then move quickly to the easier growth part, right? Takes a lot of time to go from 1 to 2, 2 to 4, 4 to 8, 4 to 16, 16 to 32, but pretty soon you're going from thousands to millions. Yeah, but if you can get a jump start to skip over the first 5 steps, you can go from growth that takes 5 years to growth that takes 1 year, and then you're on the same trajectory as Bitcoin or ahead of Bitcoin. So the question is, can you buy users? And if so, how much do they cost? And how might we go about trying to buy users? So if we could find, I'm not saying anything's done or happening, anything, so this is just hypothetical. If we can find a partner who will allow you to pay a credit card bill with BitUSD, and if we provide a cashback or a bonus for people who pay their credit card bill in BitUSD, say 10%. It's just a number. Numbers can be debatable. And if we then provide a referral fee, so that everyone who refers someone who signs up for the credit card and pays for it with BitUSD, now you've got a viral referral network, and that's an approach similar to how PayPal grew. PayPal gave everyone $10 just to sign up, and if you referred a friend, you would get another $10. And of course, you can refer multiple friends. So they ended up paying a total of $20 per customer, and they grew dramatically on the order of, I think, 7 to 10% per month or something ridiculous to 100 million users.
Out of curiosity, I know this is going to sound silly. This might sound silly, but could there be like a DAC that would be used or that's a service that's provided and people use their cards to essentially, like, I could register a card and say the maximum amount is $750 because that's what my maximum amount is, and that's all I will buy, but I'll buy that every month, and it will be have it to the point where people can actually buy with fiat buy stuff with BTSX using my credit card, and I get a little bit of cash back essentially, right? Which would essentially make my credit card give me back like 15% cash back as opposed to 1%.
The idea would be that you keep your dollars in BitUSD earning interest, and you pay your credit card once a month with the payment. And now you're earning better interest on your BitUSD checking account, and you can spend it just as easily as you can with your check card tied to your bank. Users never even see Bitshares X. There's never any conversion. There's never any of the hassle that people have to go through to deal with Bitcoin and its volatility.
I like it.
So the goal is to get 1 million users as quickly as possible. And if we can get 1 million unique users, each of which have purchased $1,000 worth of BitUSD in order to earn $100 or $200 if they referred someone, then you're talking about a market cap growth to $1 billion just in the BitUSD purchased to pay it all out. Now, of course, that all has to then be sold, but the idea being that a lot of people that bring that money in see the interest they're getting. They've already set up the infrastructure, the accounts at the exchanges, the credit card account, the whatever it is you have. And if they've already gone through all that work and they've got a wallet on their computer, they're ready to go. There's no more barrier to entry for them. So you basically bought them over the barrier to entry hurdle, and now they're in the system, and now they can put more money in the system because they have confidence, because they've put the money in and they've spent it. And they've earned money in the system while they held it there.
Okay, so let's say I'm talking to my mom. I'm talking my mom into using BitUSD like this. Could you walk us through like how we would tell her she would have to do things?
Yeah, she would hook up her checking account to one of the exchanges. Ideally, if we could find an exchange that would take credit card payment, that would be even faster. But Brian and Co. are working on an on-ramp that makes it really easy for someone to get money into the system. And once they've got the BitUSD, they download the wallet, they withdraw it from the exchange, and now they've got BitUSD sitting on their computer. And then you just tell your mom, here it is. You say, we backed up your wallet, and you put the wallet someplace safe. Now she doesn't have to worry about losing her funds. She just has to make sure no one gets her password. And of course, you've probably written the password down and locked it away in her safe as well. Now your mother's all set up, and once a month she makes a payment on her credit card, and she does it just by opening her wallet, online transfer. Just like online banking. She never sees a Bitshares X. All she ever sees is USD.
Yeah, only the bank is in a little safe in her closet or something.
Right. The backup is in her closet. She's got it on her computer. She's got online banking in a box on her computer that's earning her better interest than her bank account wherever she's banking now. And yet, she can still pay all of her bills dollar for dollar at parity in BitUSD.
That's awesome.
We need to identify business partners to make that happen. And we've got some solid leads on that. So, but if we can make all that happen, now we've got a much more robust overall system. And that's what I'd like to see happen, is grandma and your mother and everyone else out there gains a huge user base like PayPal did. They stay entirely in dollars the entire time, and they can interface with all the existing purchases just as easily as they can today.
I want my mama to use BitUSD, so I'm down with that. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to it.
I'm also pretty excited by this idea, and my experience. I was in Silicon Valley in 2012 and 2013 and launched a financial services app. We grew from about 0 to 10,000 users over the course of about 6 months. And what I found to be the biggest barrier to sort of that first initial growth, you get the super early adopters who are really excited, especially if you got a good incentive going. But what we hit was basically mobile integration was that first major hurdle, that we sort of lost virality when we didn't have a very good mobile strategy. So I'm just wondering, Dan, do you have any insights into that side of the equation for both on-ramps and a client?
First step in that direction is building the lightweight desktop app that doesn't require you to download the whole blockchain. Once we have that, then we can move toward a web-based app that gives you a web-based wallet, and then you can access the web-based wallet on your phone. And then finally, a phone app. Maybe we can use a phone app before the web-based client. That might actually be easier now that I think about it. But that's where we are going. And that is very high priority on our list of things to do.
With regard to kind of like along the lines of those questions, but with a slight twist as far as the different languages that are going to be, are there going to be different languages integrated into this interface? Is that something that you guys are looking at? I'm assuming it's going to have to come, but are you guys planning on working on it, or is that going to be like an open source type of thing?
You mean different implementations in different languages?
Yeah, like the ability to change languages straight in through the interface. You know what I'm saying? Like, if somebody's from China or somebody's from
you mean
America, they can
translations.
Yeah.
Well, the wallet's already translated to several languages.
Oh. Now, how is this? There's like a web wallet or something to that effect that BitSapphire is doing.
I don't know anything about what they're doing, but yeah, they're, from my understanding, is a completely web-based solution, kind of like the blockchain.info of Bitshares.
Oh, okay. Okay, so they're working kind of like to build something like that for the Sync ecosystem.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm here, so I might actually be able to answer the question.
Okay. Sorry about that, man.
Yeah, no problem. The idea is that just like the original Bitshares X wallet, we're going to do essentially the same thing, but specifically for a user base which wouldn't care about the deeper level of the delegates and the financial incentives in trading, etc. So it's not going to be tiered to the crypto-geeks, rather to the, well, I guess 20 and 30-year-olds, the grandmothers, maybe not necessarily, but people who are used to PayPal and similar platforms. We got the idea essentially by talking with Cobb and others and seeing that there's a real need for a, I wouldn't necessarily say watered down wallet, but a wallet which is a wallet which is a lot more like PayPal and the other platforms.
So a really light, user-friendly type of experience that doesn't
and the software will be similar to how it's working currently. AngularJS and Famous, instead of the Qt wrapper for the APIs, we're working on a Node.js wrapper, so we can use it on a web scale too.
Well, thanks for clarifying it. I'm glad that you're here.
What's your status? Like, how close are you?
We have the Famous integration done probably in a week or at most 2 weeks, and then we'll need to integrate the Angular stuff, but the difficulty will probably be with Node.js, because we want to make it as modular as possible, because we want to present it as a framework for more DACs rather than just, a complete wallet solution. So I guess we'll have more talk with Cobb and Bytemaster later on to show something to the community real.
Are you doing all the encryption in JavaScript?
Yes.
And have you analyzed our transaction structure and figured out how to build and sign a transaction yet?
Not completely, which is why we'll probably have to talk more with you guys to figure that out and how to make it modular enough for the future DACs, because at the end of the day, we don't really know whether it's going to be the same for all DACs and on what level we'll have to make the crypto modular for other DACs to just integrate or be able to change the transaction structure.
Right, the primary challenge you're going to face is the serialization binary format of the transactions. And every DAC is going to have a slightly different representation of that data for their custom operations. But they all have the basic transaction types for all DACs will be the same. So you probably need to have some kind of polymorphic operation stuff. But we're probably getting too technical for this call, so I'll stop that right now.
Yeah, we'll have that call later on, then just present the final polished thing to the community.
All right, guys, I'm going to go. I'll catch you all later.
Talk to you soon, Bytemaster.
Thank you very much for stopping by again, Bytemaster.
Later.
If we're still waiting, I can go over the story that I experienced in the last local Bitcoin meetup here in Utah.
I want to hear it, of course.
Basically, it's kind of bragging, so if you don't like that, sorry about that. But basically, every year, or at least last year at this time, they passed around a paper and everyone predicted what the price of Bitcoin was going to be. And this, at the time that they did this, Bitcoin was around $100, $200 between that range, and everyone was focusing around the $500 range, and everyone was like in 6 months or by the end of the year. And my prediction was over $1,000 by the end of the year. I was like, oh, that's crazy. It's never going to be that high. Anyway, and this year when they did it again, they pointed out that I was the only one in that camp that saw that huge growth. But this year they were passing them around again and predicting what's going to be the price of Bitcoin in 6 months. And the majority of people were like saying, $1,000, it'll get up to $1,000 again. And I was the only bear in the room. I was predicting $100 in 6 months and $10 in a year. And so, but anyway, so everyone was totally shocked. Wait a minute, you're the biggest bear in the room, or biggest bull in the room. Why are you suddenly a bear in the room? But I told them because of Bitshares.
Is that, what did they say?
Everyone's jaw was on the floor. They were like, couldn't believe it. And I'm sure a bunch of them, the part of the price is going down is probably a lot, because there's some pretty wealthy guys in this group, and probably a lot of them are selling.
Well, I'll tell you right now, it's interesting to me that Bitshares is number 4. They would have been number 3 if Ripple wouldn't have done what they did when they did it. Ironically, I really truly believe that. I believe they messed with the market psychology at the right time to somehow dodge it.
Yeah. Yep.
But
Brilliant move, and it was cool to see them capable of doing that.
yeah, oh yeah, you realize that there's some big boys in there, you know. But it's so interesting to know that Bitshares is that high up already, right? It's already there next to competitors who've been around for far longer, and nobody knows about them. No Bitcoiners, like very few people, know about Bitshares. They're like, what the heck is Bitshares? You know what I mean? So it's like...
Yep. If it wasn't for me, no one in Utah would know about them.
I tell people about them, but most people who I talk to in real life about cryptocurrency, I'll occasionally get a couple people who will be really interested in it, but the only way I can ever get across to people the value of cryptocurrency is to talk about transparent voting. That's kind of my way of explaining everything to them, the value of it. Because once they understand the value of fully transparent voting, they can understand the value of other fully transparent actions. So they kind of like just like had their mouths were like wide open, like, what is Bitshares? Did they ask you?
Yep. Oh no, they all know that every time I open my mouth, it's going to be completely biased towards Bitshares, and they all know about Bitshares now because I'm always there in their face.
Oh. Oh, so they're like rolling their eyes at you, basically.
Just like they did a year ago. No way is it ever going to be $1,000.
Well, I'll tell you what. It's been very surprising how fast it rose. I thought Bitshares was going to be a little bit more volatile, but wow, man. Like, very rarely.
Yeah, the stability in price is amazing.
Yeah, well, when you see something like, how often do you really see a crypto come out and go spike up and then go back down and then gradually make it right back up there within a month, 2 months?
Yeah.
That was so beautiful to see it. Like, I thought it was going to take a lot longer, you know, because that's the normal pattern that they all follow. Is it takes forever to get back there. But not this one, buddy. Not this one. That's why I'm very interested to see all these other DACs, like Bitshares Music and the notes. It'll be very cool to see how it works out. Out of curiosity, since we have everybody here, and this is like a kind of a town hall meeting too, you know, we have speakers who come in here. But what does everybody think about distributions of DACs? Like, some people have made points that I think are, you know, they have valid aspects to them, that PTS and AGS holders, that there's, if they receive 40% on a DAC or 30% share drops on DACs, of DAC shares for holding PTS and AGS, that's kind of like unfair, that it kind of creates an oligarchy over time. What do you guys think about that idea? Does anybody have any thoughts?
I'm sure glad I own some Angel shares.
Yeah, I'm glad I own some Angel shares too. I'm glad. I'm actually glad I bought into them after the BTSX snapshot, because I think that was probably one of the smartest moves I made.
I regret not dumping more of my PTS into AGS.
Yeah.
Interesting. Why is that?
Well, because the multiplier on AGS, you just get more value, and I don't really, I'm not looking to sell them.
What do you guys think about the Reddit coin?
That's an excellent question. I think that it's
The
brilliant.
rumor has it that it's going to be built on Bitcoin.
That's a heck of a... Why would... I just don't understand. How would it be possible when you have such slow transaction speeds, other than to have something built on top of Bitcoin?
Well, actually, a lot of people have been talking about the transaction speed, but it's not really a problem if you work around it. And Mark Hearn has been doing a lot of it. And the thing is, for the small tips, you don't need the confirmation. Mycelium already solved it by tracking your payment through the network. And if you know that your payment has been absorbed in the network, and you know, and the guy getting the payment knows that you have the balance to pay, that's all you need.
I'm just wondering, when you say built on a Bitcoin, do you mean a clone of Bitcoin, or do you mean something like Colored Coin that runs on the Bitcoin blockchain?
Yeah, there's been a lot of push for a colored coin by several people.
Yeah, so the main dev that Reddit hired actually was a core developer from BitPay. His name's Ryan. And pretty active, pretty knowledgeable about Bitcoin. He's coming from the beginning perception that Bitcoin is the best thing, therefore we should figure out how to use Bitcoin to solve our problem. But I think Reddit is going to have significantly different business needs that issuing shares on the Bitcoin blockchain are just not really going to be appropriate to solve. So I think it's just too early. Right now you're just hearing everybody's perceptions and preferences, but we don't even know anybody releasing any type of equity assets on the blockchain that's really found success yet. So I think it's just too early.
Yeah. One thing I do have to admit, Bitcoin is the oldest one of them all. So it's been around the longest, and for a couple of businesses that might count as more than some upstart.
Yeah, so technically probably just something like colored coins or open assets with open transactions on top of it, or something like DPoS or Hyperledger. Those are pretty much the three only options for the Reddit coin, I think, technically.
Does someone know what Hyperledger is? What is that?
It's just a framework for creating assets. They leave pretty much everything way open, how you implement the consensus system, the anti-spam mechanism, and other things. And you can do the centralization versus decentralization thing pretty much on your own, meaning you essentially decide how decentralized or how centralized you want to have your ledger.
Cool, thanks.
So it can move all the way, kind of like varying degrees of decentralization. It's kind of like DPoS does, based on a couple parameters.
Yeah, kind of. But at the end of the day, their solution is still central certificate based, meaning based on SSL. So they it's not as elegant as DPoS, but these things I think all will converge at some point somewhere.
Yeah, that's kind of the interesting thing that we talk about a little bit, is and it kind of brings the question to bear, do we even need to try to make them converge? It's almost like they will on their own, and it'll be in a way that we can't foresee.
Think one community will rule everything?
What I really like about DPoS, like the concept of everything that they've done, is I really think that DACs can be built with DPoS for any coin. I'm not sure of all of the technical aspects to it, but I'm pretty sure it can be done. I don't know. I think that over time, any DAC that's created with the Bitshares toolkit, the coin, like the primary token, it would behoove the devs to eventually switch over to DPost because it's just intelligent to, I think. But then again, we're sitting here with Bitshares PTS as kind of like a clone of Bitcoin with a different algorithm.
At my meetup, there's a very strong contingency of like guys who think that anything, like any other blockchain, is basically a scam, and they're very ardent in that belief, and it makes things difficult, and it kind of sends people down the wrong path in these things. They think everything can be put on the Bitcoin blockchain, or because it can be done that way, then it must be the superior way of doing it. And I mean, these are like the high-level technical guys too, and I don't know.
Yeah, you see the same thing in the BitAngels investors group. They're all exactly like, and these are all brilliant people that have made bazillions of dollars, but they're just a bunch of sheep about ready to jump off the money cliff.
Well, I don't know. I find it hard to believe that people are going to let Bitcoin die. I think if it dies, it's going to be like Superman, man. There's going to be a bunch of other ones there that are cloned off of it. Exactly.
It won't die. It's just not going to have a huge market cap.
Well, the thing to me that bothers me is if you are deciding right up front that one must win and you're not even looking at competitors, you're not trying to create the best solution possible.
Yeah.
You're already, and that's for me, that's a recipe for failure.